Andy, for those people who don't know Andy Barding, can you tell us a little bit of a potted history? Because I kind of know you from your early days with kind of fanzines and the Newport scene and all that. But do you want to take us back into that and where you started out in sort of music journalism?
Yeah, well, I started as a news journalist first of all from leaving school. Well, from leaving college, I started work on a weekly paper, and then on a Sunday paper down in Devon. Then I went freelance for a bit, and then I ended up working for the Western Mail. That was in at the end of the 80s, 89, and then moved to the South Wales Echo after that. But simultaneously, I was moonlighting on my own sort of fanzine, which is called Frug, which concentrated on the South Wales music scene. But I was also moonlighting for the music press, firstly the NME, and then for a little while the Melody Maker, and the magazine that used to be around called, God, I can't remember what it's called. It's a funny sort of little format magazine, which had a free CD with X-Ray.
Okay.
The stuff for X-Ray, a little bit for Mojo, and what have you. That was all that all came later in the sort of mid to late 90s when I should have been working for the South Wales Echo.
Yeah, but that was much more fun.
Much more fun, yeah.
So
they went mad when they found out, actually. They really weren't happy about it, the editors.
Did you, was it because you were using the same kind of pen name? Did that matter at all? Or?
I didn't use my name for the music press stuff. When I did the fanzine, I called myself the Bard. Nice. And a colleague of mine, Chris Strange, on the South Wales Echo, he called himself Jackson Bollocks. Everyone had pseudonyms.
That's great.
It was Bilbo Bag. We all used pseudonyms. It's the old Captain Sensible syndrome. I mean, the Bard isn't the cleverest pseudonym.
No. Of course, there's the Bard of Ely as well, isn't there? Steve Andrews.
Yeah. I know. Sorry, Steve. But when I was eventually called up in front of the editor of the Western Mail at that time and asked about this fanzine which they'd been sent, I claimed it was my brother. So sorry to my brother as well.
He was quite a frightening character, wasn't he? Then the editor of the Echo, wasn't he? Quite a hard character.
JH, yeah, he was. Yeah, it was after. This is sort of after him, really. Yeah, after he came and went, there was a succession of weaker and weaker Western Mail editors and weaker South Wales Echo editors, ending by the time I left with the weakest editor you could imagine. But they still, did their best to wreck popular culture.
Yes. I didn't actually know you did that with NME and Melody Maker actually, but did you? I don't know whether you had a look around the site at all, but did you see the interview with Alan Jones?
Alan Jones is a legend, isn't he? And in fact, my first job interview was with for the NME was with Alan Jones. And I remember it very well because I travelled down to London for it from Wales, and I got there about 6 p.m. I've been working that day, so I had to sort of leg it, jump on a train and get there. And it's too late for him. He'd finished work, and what could I do? Would I just go back or something? So I said, "Oh, Mr. Jones, I've come all this way, etc." And he said, "Oh, come on then." So I went up. We had a very, very quick chat in the office, and then he said, "Pub," and we piled into the pub and had a good drink, and I ended up staying there sort of pretty much most of the night, just talking about, bands like the House of Love. It was good times.
He's fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah. He's been through some incredible experiences. The fight between Lou Reed and David Bowie is my favourite.
Yeah. You read the book, I guess, have you?
Do you know what? I've skimmed it, but it's on my list of.
Please read it. I mean, it's just. I absolutely. When I interviewed him, I told him it's one of my favorite books I've ever read. It was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
that story crops up, of course, amongst many others. But of course, I'm sure you've generated a few of your own. When you first went into sort of music, kind of top-notch music magazine writing, NME, etc., Melody Maker, that took you into a different league. That must have been a joy for you, though, to start writing for those kind of publications.
It was, yeah. It was very exciting, and in particular, around in South Wales at that time, there were a lot of exceptional bands, really world-class bands. So it was fantastic to be able to report on them to the papers.
Was that mostly in Newport, Andy?
Mostly Newport, yeah. Although I did review a couple of Cardiff gigs for them, and I covered the Ritchie thing for the Enemy.
Oh wow, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He's the only member of the Manics that I ever interviewed, actually, Ritchie, and
the only one you want to, really, isn't he?
Well, yeah, if you say that,
nice chap.
yeah, and my memories of meeting Ritchie were how unbelievably frail he was, you know.
Yeah, he's a gentle soul.
Yeah,
I liked him. He's good. He bought, when I did my fanzines, he'd buy it from me, even though we'd largely be really taking the piss out of him, and but he didn't seem to mind.
Tell us a little bit about Frug then, because I guess so that came out of that, did it? That you had sort of you went off in something more kind of localized and kind of less mainstream, I suppose.
The reason that came about was because at that time the Western Mail were running music reviews and arts reviews, and they were paying reporters, I think it's either £9 or £14 per review on top of as a bonus sort of thing. So competition was quite fierce because money's money, and I was trying to get my reviews into the paper, and the sort of bands I was going to see were the sort of bands that TJs were putting on, a lot of American bands, and a lot of abrasive punk bands, and interesting bands that wouldn't normally hit the sort of Western Mail readership's radar. So I had to sort of lie and say that Down by Law were number 5 in the charts that week, and I hope that they'd believe me and let me review them, or Bikini Kill, or going to be on telly that weekend or something. And occasionally I'd get Alice Donut reviews in, or Killdozer or whoever, but most of the time I couldn't. And so the fanzine was started up as an outlet for that, really, because I really wanted to write about these brilliant bands.
What era was that? Was that sort of late 70s into mid 80s kind of time, or?
No, much later. This is sort of mid 90s.
Oh wow! 90s. Okay.
Early 90s.
All right.
Yeah, from about 92 to 98. Or
okay. And I mean, I don't know what day it is. That's why I'm all over the place, But, so for those people who don't know and who weren't there, I mean, it's not exactly like being in kind of, I don't know, Manhattan in the 60s or whatever, but Newport at the time when the Newport scene was kind of happening and bubbling through was like quite, with the TJs singing and everything else. For people who don't know, why was it quite a special place in musical terms?
Well, it was quite an incendiary atmosphere in a way, because Newport always felt kind of hard done by, because, we weren't Welsh, and we weren't English. We were a weird sort of middle ground. We didn't fit in with that Welsh language scene. Much that we loved a lot of those Welsh language bands, we didn't fit in with them at all. And we didn't fit in with, what was going on in London. So we felt really quite dispossessed. And the new sort of bands had their own sort of flavour, which is quite a sort of desperate, sort of shouty sort of sound. There was a lot of feedback in Newport music. A lot of the records you hear from that time, lots of feedback at the beginning and ends of songs, which was a scream,
Yes.
And we were sort of, we wanted to be noticed. We're crying for attention, as Art Brut used to put it. We wanted to ask why our parents weren't looking after us.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about TJs and the kind of role that kind of venue, developed, and John Sokolo and everything else.
TJs was the sort of nucleus of it all, really. It was the place where all the bands came to play. All these incredible bands from around the world, came to play their sort of sometimes quite angler, aggressive, noisy music, but which spoke to us. We had all these kindred souls coming in from all over the world, and it could have happened anywhere. TJ's was just a building. I mean, it had character in the shape of John Sokolo, who ran the place, and his brother Dave, and his ex-partner Trilby, or his partner Trilby. They were characters. The place had character, but it was down and dirty. It stank. The toilets were a disgrace. It was horrible, really, but we loved it. It was ours, and
yeah,
everyone was welcome there.
I mean, he was famous for his hospitality. I think he used to give the band pizzas, did he? Around about the sound check time and this kind of stuff. I think everybody had the same thing.
Yeah, he'd take people back to his house. He lived around the corner. He'd quite often take bands around the corner to his house and, cook up a meal for them. He used to like knocking up a curry or chili or something in a big
nice
pot. Yeah.
There was the Kurt Cobain story, of course, with Nirvana. Of course, Nirvana back in the news this week as we speak. A member of that band, anyway, with some quite kind of disappointing views, I guess, on what's happening in America right now.
Very disappointing. Nirvana never played TJ's, of course, and Kurt Cobain was only there once when his future wife played there. Courtney Love played there with Hole.
Yeah,
Nirvana never did. They played Bristol. It's close as they could.
Yeah, but that's what he. Is that right, Andy? Is that the night he proposed to her?
That's the night that John Sicolo told everyone he proposed to her. I don't think he did.
I mean, the story gets better over time, I suppose. It's one of those apocryphal tales, but the line I've heard is, "Marry me, bitch, I'm worth $1 million." I don't know whether true that is.
That might have happened, but probably not in Newport. For one thing, they'd smacked their car into the Newport Bridge. They had a hired Skoda that they're travelling around.
Yeah.
And I gather that whoever was driving drove it into the town bridge. And so they weren't in the best of moods. I can't say what happened there. But, John Sicolo would never let the facts get in the way of a good story like that.
No, well, I don't know whether it was through him or not, but I kind of hope it was really, that story's kind of emerged.
It sort of has become true in a way because it's been repeated. So
yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
You then had Frug Fanzine, and I think you were putting out compilation albums. Were you involved in that as well, I think, at the time? Is that right?
Yep, did a compilation album called I Was a Teenage Gwent Boy, which is my baby, my pride and joy.
I think
and a few singles as well. Singles by the Five Darrens, and helped distribute through the fanzine. We used to give away free singles, and singles by Nova Kane and Fly Screen.
Yeah,
and all these brilliant bands that are ripe to be rediscovered.
See, now you're saying all that, now it makes sense. Of course it was that era, because that's when I was on Red Dragon Radio, and I was playing all those bands. I was playing all the bands on the radio. I seem to remember one of the bands. Which band was it, Andy, who had a song about Newport County with the European Cup Winners' Cup game?
Oh, Fly Screen. Yeah. They had an EP called the Size 5 Leather EP, which was full of football songs, something about Carl Zeiss Jena.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I think the Transporter Bridge got a mention.
On Super 8, I think it's one of the songs.
Brilliant. I mean, it's unfortunate, really, I suppose. And I mean, we're talking just talking about Newport. I mean, as a journalist as well, and you're interested in music, and it was really unfortunate that my experience with kind of the music industry, I suppose, A&R guys, and how they go from place to place. Unfortunately for Newport, they were ahead of the curve, really, weren't they? I mean, a couple of bits came through from it, but it could have been. I mean, it was a breeding ground for so much great stuff then, wasn't it?
It really was. A lot of great music. A lot of the A&R men that came to check out bands in Newport were shown the door, basically, because we collectively had so much attitude that we just weren't interested in engaging with them. They did used to come down a lot. To be candid, mostly to look at the 60-foot dolls. They were the sort of market leaders, if you will, at that time. But it's the people that come second that get all the prizes, really, in a lot of things in life. And I think that's the case with Stereophonics, and the Manics really sort of came and took the treasure that it could be argued belonged to Newport.
Stereophonics, I think it was the night they were signed and playing at a place called the Filling Station in Newport years later, with Alan Jones being involved, etc. And
Kelly Jones had a ponytail, and they did Bob Dylan songs. Yeah, remember it well. It was there. It's terrible. Lovely band.
Funny you should mention the Five Darrens, because a mutual friend of ours, Mike Morgan, was the bass player in the Five Darrens. Of course, it was Jez and people like that. And I mean, Jez, what a great guitarist, by the way.
Yes.
Never going to gig again in his life, unfortunately. But because he just can't be asked to get out of the house. Yeah. But I know Mike speaks very highly of you. A band like the Five Darrens, they were getting quite a lot of airplay. Peely was playing them and everything else. So
yeah,
it was.
They were our Buzzcocks. They were Newport's Buzzcocks. well, their songs were very sort of emotional. Songs like Me Sad and Short Term Memory Loss. Very good emotional songs about sort of young and not so young love. Lots of minor chords. They were brilliant. I loved Five Downs.
The other Mike gave me the album. Was it on S&M or something like that? Some sort of crazy label? I think maybe I'm not quite sure.
There was Gary, who I used to do the fanzine with, and he used to work at TJ's and DJ at TJ's. He brought out a couple of compilation albums called S&M.
Yeah,
which are really lots of fun. They had lots of sort of live clips interspersed with bits of background noise from TJ's and whatever, proper time capsule stuff.
The Five Darrens album, though, Mike loaned it to me like ages ago, and I've got a record player in the house. You probably play. I know you play vinyl all the time. I know you're a big vinyl man. I can't get away with it in my house as much as I'd like to. So, and the other day I had the place to myself. What a great album! I mean, I was surprised, and I don't mean this at all in a weird way. I was surprised how really good some of it was. It was great. It is great.
It really does stand up to the test of time. I've played stuff more recently, and we weren't mucking around back then. We had something. We really did. I think in some future year when this stuff gets to be looked at again, people realise that.
It deserves a revisit, doesn't it? For sure.
Yeah.
But moving on from the Newport scene, what happened to Andy Barding next?
After that, I moved to London. Shortly after all that, I went into management and band management for a bit. I did a bit of press as well. I did press for Catatonia towards the end.
Oh, did you?
Just for the Cry stuff, the records on Cry. I did publicity for that. Did a bit for the Darkness. Went into management thing, Goldie Looking Chain, with Connell Dodds for a little while. And then went on to a girl group called the Pipettes, and then on to various other things. The Wooden Tops, I bullied them into reforming. And then went into tour managing, which I still do a bit of tour managing.
Tell me a little about when you said when he went into press. So was this writing sort of promotional copy for the bands, or was it sorting out interviews for them? What was your kind of role exactly?
Yeah, mostly just sort of writing stuff for them, getting them in the papers. And I was doing quite a bit of work at that time. I was self-employed by then. I'd left the South Wales Echo. I'd gone into doing PR work for promoters who were putting on gigs around that area and in Bristol as well. I did press for the big gig that Massive Attack did in the Square in Bristol at that time. And I did a bit for Brian Ferry.
Did you?
Yeah. Suede.
Yeah.
It was more sort of like promotion for events, but also the occasional thing like the Catatonia record and things like that.
A couple of things with that, what you just said, because it's great when I talk to somebody like you, because you trigger off all these thoughts. Firstly, you should, when you read the book, if you haven't read the Alan Jones book, Brian Ferry, those two words, Brian Ferry. I'll leave those two words with you. Yeah.
All right.
And the second one was Goldie Looking Chain. I guess you got to know them quite well, did you?
Yes.
And
did
you must have had some adventures, I would imagine, with those characters.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. They call me MC Ding Dong. Who's Barding, so yeah. And P. Zane from the group gave me this fantastic Goldie Looking Chain, which I can't find anymore. Yeah, they were. They did my head in. They really did. They were such hard work, but also rewarding work. We knew they were serious. And, an interesting time.
Were you involved with when Paul Flynn, sort of the MP, got involved in that? Was that through you in your press capacity, PR capacity?
It was, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I know Paul's sadly passed away quite recently. He's one of my best friend's uncle, actually. But I never actually got to have a conversation with him. Last time I saw him, he wasn't looking well. He was in a wheelchair. And I just didn't feel it appropriate to go up and sort of chat to him. But I've always looked up to him. So tell me what that's about.
Yeah, I love Paul Flynn. He was brilliant. He was my MP at the time. And he's, as you could tell from that GLC thing, he's always game for anything, really. And he understood, he understood what we were doing. He understood the culture of Newport music. He didn't, you know, he took it as seriously as we did. I mean, before the GLC thing, he had he presented an early day motion to Parliament, asking the House to applaud, you know, our music scene as was, and named a lot of the bands, which meant, you know, that we're in Hansard. You know, it's a big deal. You know, we're all named in Parliament. You know, our MP was asking the country to congratulate us all, and it's kind of like a gimmick, but it's also, you know, deadly serious. He meant it. He understood us in a way that, you know, the papers that I was working for at the time didn't. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, as I say, you know, I've always admired him. But then you said about working as a tour manager. So that must have been a bit of an eye opener and a bit of a change of direction when you first went out on the road with bands. Any early memories of that, maybe?
Too many. Yeah, it's always fun. And like I say, I still do it now. I work with Roland Gift from Fine Young Cannibals.
Oh yeah,
he's my main sort of chap these days. Do quite a bit with him, and it's good fun. You know, going out to these things. You know, getting a show on the road, making sure, you know, no one dies, making sure no one gets arrested. It's most of the time it works.
Have you any particular bands? When I spoke to Alan Jones, you know, music journalist Alan Jones, he said about one of the early things he did, which is, I know it's a slightly different thing, but he went on tour with the Clash from the first tour of the States.
Right.
And he talks about in the interview about, it's a great story about how he ended up chatting with Bo Diddley, drinking hooch on the bus, on the tour bus while the Clash were asleep. But I mean, imagine, do you have any kind of bands that you went out with where things maybe didn't quite go as planned when you were managing it?
Yes. A lot of times things do go wrong. Can't think of any examples.
Alcohol and drugs spring to mind.
Yeah, that does happen against my better, you know, whatever. Yeah, I'm desperately trying hard.
It's all right. I put you on the spot there, sorry, but I'm sure you got loads of great ones which will come back to you at some point.
There's a band that rhymes with Nat, Bite, Spamily that were quite a challenge. Some challenging bands out there.
Sorry, Andy, as a tour manager, I don't know whether it was you or whether it was somebody else, but were you the guy who'd set up sort of interviews with radio stations and stuff along the way as well, or, you know?
Well, that would be a part of it, yeah.
And sometimes
coordinating sort of things like that, you know, making sure,
because they can also go wrong, can't they? I mean, you know, they can be a bit interesting.
Yeah, I've been lucky in that respect. Probably, you know, most of the things that I've had to do have been okay, and no one's really, you know. And Goldie Looking Chain were, you know, some of their interviews would sometimes, you know, you'd have to have a word with the reporter or interviewer afterwards, say, look, just don't include that bit because, you know, it's a bit dodgy. But I'm not saying that went on a lot, but, you know, occasionally something like that.
So Goldie Looking Chain, if I remember, and I can't remember the name of the station. It was a station which I think went on to become Nation, but there was a radio station for a short time in Wales, which was fantastic. It was so crazy and out there. It was brilliant. And the Goldie Looking Chain, I think some of the guys used to present on it. Do you remember that? Because I can't remember.
Actually, no.
That's a shame, because I'm hoping you would, because I can't remember. I thought maybe Andy might know, but yeah.
It'll probably come to me as,
I think Stuart Cable did some stuff on there. He did a rock show on there, I think, and they involved bands in it. I think, and Goldie Looking Chain were involved, and it was absolutely insane, but it was brilliant anyway.
That does ring a vague bell now. Yeah.
It didn't last very long, but understandably, because it was, you know, because of the world we live in. But it's probably one of the best radio stations that's ever existed, even though it was only for a short period.
Right.
Let's bring you on to music and your love of music. Obviously, I can't. Nobody can fail to notice that your association with David Bowie and your very close proximity to him, and those fantastic pictures you've got. You know, you became pretty well a friend of his, I guess.
No, not really. No,
acquaintance, recognizable. He knew you, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I used to write a few things for his website. That's the sort of main connection. I mean, I was a fan. I was a big Bowie fan. You know, I used to go to as many Bowie gigs as I could. And yeah, when his website davidbowie.com started up, I'd sometimes be asked to review things, or I reviewed one of his gigs in New York. It was some time ago for this thing. And I had the occasional email from him.
You used to travel around internationally with him, though, didn't you? Across Europe and whatever, I think, yeah?
Yeah, that was my big hobby at the time. Still, you know, what a great live performer. Still up going to see.
Bootlegging, were you?
Maybe a bit, yeah. History will thank me, hopefully.
Have you got a favourite kind of Bowie kind of gig or Bowie moment that, you know, I mean, there must be many, but any spring to mind?
There's a few. There's one that I skived off work at the Western Mill to go to. I got wind of a secret gig that was happening in Dublin. It's while they were rehearsing for Bowie and his band Tin Machine. While they were rehearsing with a secret gig in Dublin. Got wind of that. Cried off sick. Went over to Dublin, went to that. It was in the back room of a pub, and there was, I think, 100, maybe 120 people there, and it was ridiculous. It's smaller than TJ's. Yeah, so that was an exciting one.
What a great way to see him, because he's, you know, I mean, that stadium stuff is kind of what he did, and it's a bit
challenging
kind of
for him, I think.
Yeah.
Challenging for him, I think. You know, it's probably back to his sort of 60s experiences of, you know, struggling to keep a tiny crowd entertained. I mean, you know, we all knew who he was, but we sort of got a sense of it being, you know.
But I don't know whether it's the same for the artist, or I don't know. I mean, we can't ask him, sadly. But you know, I wonder if it's same for the artist when you become part of that kind of global machine, that kind of corporate global machine, and it's just like, you know, you're that little thing on a stage like 17 miles away on a big screen, compared to actually engaging with an audience, you know.
My personal opinion is he probably always wanted to go back to that, because the evidence for that is his cover versions. You know, throughout his career, even after he sort of became really popular, he'd always do the most bizarre cover versions of some quite, you know, easy beats and, you know, Pretty Things, lots of old rock and roll stuff. Chuck Berry. He's a big Little Richard fan, of course. I think in his heart of hearts, he wanted to be a little mod rocker, you know.
But he kept on reinventing himself, Andy, didn't he? You know, like, I mean, it's kind of, he could have kind of pretty well done anything, really. But I mean, sometimes to the extent that the band wouldn't even know what that, you know, the band wouldn't even be the band anymore. You know, he just reinvent himself and do something else.
Yeah, he was a bugger for, you know, sacking band members, you know, just on a whim, just because they didn't suit whatever direction he wanted to go in next. I think everyone who worked with him, you know, had to sort of, you know, bear that in mind, really, and just take that as part of what he was. Yeah.
I suppose there's not been that many people, I can't think of that many anyway, who've been like him, where, you know, he was that big and he had that stature that he, you know, commercial stuff didn't really come into it. He could just do whatever the hell he liked because he was David Bowie. You know, I can't say I like everything he did, but some of the, you know, because some of the stuff he did I just didn't get. But he just didn't care, did he?
No, well, I think he cared, but I think he didn't sort of, he wasn't restricted by what an audience might expect of him. I think is perhaps the best way of putting it. You know, he ploughed his own furrow, and if we came along with it, and as the audience, then fine. If we didn't, then he didn't really care. Tin Machine is a great example of that. I love Tin Machine. Not a lot of people did.
No, I didn't, but you know, I can, you know, I can see, I respect you for that. You know, it's by the by. It just wasn't for me. But above anything else, I was, you know, stunned by his ability, like I say, just to totally reinvent himself and just do something different. Leading into his last couple of albums, you know, this is not a Bowie interview, but I know you love David Bowie, as does Mike, by the way, of course, as you know.
Yeah.
Amongst many thousands of millions of other people. But the last couple of albums in particular, I think you were particularly grabbed by, weren't you?
Yes. I went nuts over Black Star. Absolutely berserk. I mean, when that single, well, not a single, when the lead track from Black Star came out, and especially the video. I was obsessed by it for some time. I was so obsessed, I tried to work out what was going on by writing a story about it. I wrote a 2,000-word short story based on what I thought was going on in Black Star, and it ended up getting published, and I ended up reading it live on a radio thing. So I got quite involved in Black Star in a way.
Wow, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What it's like with the Black Star thing, in a way, and this is a weird one, it kind of reminded me a little bit, the last couple of albums with Bowie, it kind of reminded me, I think you'll get this, a little bit of Johnny Cash with the last couple of albums he did before he died.
Yes.
Johnny Cash didn't look great, you know. Bowie wasn't looking as he did, but nobody kind of knew. But Johnny Cash consciously put those albums out. Here's songs I've always wanted to do. And then Bowie took the stage further by writing all these songs with kind of hidden meanings and everything else. I mean, he even did that in a genius way, didn't he?
Well, when I first heard that Black Star album, it was before he died. And I remember hearing it and thinking, it's a little bit sort of, you know, self-reflective. This isn't like him, you know. He's looking into himself more than he has done before. I'm not sure I like it really. But then again, you know, when he appeared on that Black Star video, looking like he did, in retrospect, looking pretty ill, I thought, I like it. This is a cool new sort of, you know, the sick Bowie. That's a great look, you know. What a great new image, Dave.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a way to go out, you know. Really
what? Yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? What a way to go out. Yeah. So difficult to follow that really, because it's just a fascinating territory. But you have AAA Records as well, I think, which is based in the Isle of Wight. Isle of Wight's premier label.
Yes, well, it's a shop. It's a record shop. Okay. Yeah. I've had that a year now, just over a year. I live on the Isle of Wight now, and I had the shop for a year. It's brilliant. It's what I've always dreamed of, really, pottering about in a record shop, you know, pricing stuff up, selling it. It's great. Brilliant. Proper retirement stuff.
Is it like an old-fashioned kind of second-hand vinyl shop, or is it more than that? Or
yeah, some new stuff as well, and we sell stuff by local bands. So you know, there's a couple of really good local bands releasing records, and we sell those. Plastic Mermaids are the most famous of our local lot. And Lauren Hibbard as well is doing very well, though we haven't got our records in at the moment. We haven't got anyone. We're not open at the moment because of, you know what.
Yeah.
We like to sell local stuff.
Have you thought about doing like the rough trade thing and having some live performances going on in there as well? Stripped down.
Yeah, I think about it all the time, but our shop's a bit too small for that. There's not much room to sort of put even a sort of solo performer. The way the shape of the shop is, I don't think we'll be able to do it. But you know, we've got involved in stuff, in gigs and events outside of the shop in other venues, so probably have to carry on like that.
Spillers managed to do it, don't they? Spillers, and that's a larger store than yours, is it? Or more space, I suppose.
I only remember Spillers when they were in the Haze. I haven't seen they moved. But when they're in the Haze, I know I saw Gorky's in there, I think, and a couple of other bands. And that worked quite well. It's sort of long and thin sort of thing. Ours is sort of short and thin and with too many sort of obstacles in the way. It's just a question of the shop being wrong shape. Otherwise, do it.
It's a shame because it's a great idea. I love that idea.
I love things like that. Yeah.
And I also love record shops.
Yeah, me too.
Record shops and guitar shops are probably my two of my, as you can see, looking around the room here.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite things. And they, you know, a lot of them have disappeared. Even in Cardiff, a lot of them are gone. So it's great you're doing that. You also did that thing, I don't know if you still do it on Facebook, where you did that guessing game kind of thing when then with I think no names in a hat or something, and then you
the raffles.
Yeah. Tell me about that then, because that's good too.
That is just a way of selling. Someone else came up with that. There seem to be a few of those raffle groups on Facebook. Good way of selling records, sell raffle tickets, and then, you do a little draw and someone wins the record.
And you end up getting slightly more for the record than you would have done otherwise, I suppose.
Yeah, it does work out that way sometimes. Yeah, it seems to have sort of oversaturated a bit, and it's hard to get attention for your own raffles these days. But yeah, still do a little bit.
I suppose I should ask you this, which has come towards the close of the interview, really. But we're going through this horrible situation at the moment, and like you say, you've got a record shop and it's currently closed down.
Yeah,
you're a tour manager. There's no gigs going on.
No.
Where how do you see the short-term future, I suppose, 6, 12 months, 18 months future for music, and what do you think the ongoing impact of this is going to be?
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? And of course, none of us know, but we can guess. My personal guess is I think live music probably won't return properly until next year. I can't see anything happening before next year. Certainly a lot of the gigs that I've been booked to work on have all been put off until next summer. There's a few that are still in the diary for like August and September this year, but I can't see it. Now, I also, as well as the other things, I also co-manage a page on Facebook called Isle of Wight Music Showcase, which has been sort of collating and all the little sort of lockdown gigs that people have been doing, little solo gigs.
Oh yeah,
on Zoom and Facebook Live and what have you. Now, some of those have been interesting. Some of them, of course, have also been kind of not up to par with the full gig scenario. But very interestingly, I saw that one of our local bands, Coach Party, somehow managed to get around the whole lagging thing that you get on Zoom, and they were able to sync themselves, 4 band members, 4 different addresses. They were able to play live together, a short set, 3 or 4 songs, fully amplified, with headphones on, presumably playing to some kind of click track. But they cracked it, and I gather there's a band in Manchester as well. I can't remember their name now. But in the interim, I'm wondering if that might be some kind of short-term future. We'll be able to get live, bands playing fully live and electrified again.
I'd love to know how they did that, because there's lots of different kind of mock-ups of that, including the Stones, with Charlie Watts playing a biscuit tin or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how they did that. I may well contact them about that. I got to ask you about one more thing, Andy, as well.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm right in saying this. Mike Morgan, bass player with the Five Darrens and Anonymous Iconoclast these days, tells me of a gig happened once in Newport. I think you may have been involved in this, or some as a frontman and singer and performer yourself. And I'm thinking, what was the name of the band again?
The Drains.
The Drains.
Yeah.
So without
Mike Morgan, I called Mike D. Rain.
So Mike loves, and not to embarrass you, but Mike loves your lyrical style.
Oh, bless him. I love his lyrical style.
Is there a song by the Drains, for the Drains aficionados? This is the one to go to, and could you maybe give us a little bit insight into the lyrics in one of your songs?
Ooh, well, there was a song called "Sleepless in the New Seattle," which was Newport was for a short while called the New Seattle.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Because in the New York Times, in fact, and in Spin magazine, and "Sleepless in the New Seattle" is sort of a funny little autobiographical song about the Frug Fanzine and how we were sort of recognised and how I couldn't get any sleep because there's too much going on. So yeah, "Sleepless in the New Seattle" is kind of an autobiographical Drains song from that time.
Did you play? I think didn't you play in the square in the middle of Newport one time? And I think
did, yeah. We myself and a lady called Emma who used to edit a magazine in Newport, put together a tribute gig for John Sicolo. Sokola in the Square.
Yeah.
And we played at that. And a lot of the bands from the time reformed to play. Darling Buds played, Goldie Looking Chain played, Novocaine reformed for it, Fly Scream, Rollerco, Dr. Bison, and all sorts of Newport bands reforming, playing as a tribute to John Sokola, and the Drains played that as well. Very exciting times.
I seem to remember there was some sort of was it council outfits or something out on the workman's coats or something was going on.
Yeah, we borrowed high vis jackets from someone, I better not say who, but someone connected to the gig. It was a postman, and he had his sort of Royal Mail high vis jacket and a couple of his mates' high vis jackets, and we turned them inside out so the names weren't showing. Wore those. Yeah.
Nice. Is there anything at the moment which kind of excites you musically? You know, is there anything coming through at the moment that, you know, you're still kind of excited about? Or
yeah, I'm always. I mean, I live on the Isle of Wight now, which is a lot quieter than the sort of top island in a way. But we have a couple of really good local bands here, and I do look out for stuff. I've got a few favourite bands. A band from London called Scrounge, I'm very excited by. Yeah, and our local lot, Coach Party and Plastic Mermaids, and singer-songwriter called Angelina. They're all really good. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. So they'll all get a mention in this anyway.
Brilliant.
Andy, thanks very much. Really good to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
You know, look after yourself. Good to see you.
You too.
And take it easy.